Okay, time for part 7 of the Elka Concorde restoration saga. What's working now? New oscillators, which I've made from scratch with modern components, since the old ones were broken. String synths, the switches and envelopes are all working. Organ switches and envelopes are all working. The other motherboards have all the switch and frequency signals, so that's all good. The treble keyboard is fully working, it's all good. And now I'm starting to focus on this section here. Now this is pretty much complete. This is the treble percussion and treble flutes, so for the organ. These are the buffers, and then the 7 filters, one for each octave, and also for the flutes, 3 buffers and 7 filters. Now these 2 sections output to this section over here, and this is basically where all the effects, preamplifiers and all sorts of that kind of guff is. And I want to start working on the output and effect stuff. So the preamp here, that's working. I refurbished it already. The percussion VCA is next. I already refurbished it with new capacitors and everything. Cleaned it up, of course, but I'm gonna need to test it. And for that, unfortunately, I need to deal with this mistake. Okay, a plan has been formed and devised and something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to solder up these cables, and then when I have these all wired up, then I know what connects to what, and then I can start cutting these looms and separating the wires which I need. Like, for example, here are all the control wires for the percussion. So this turns the various footages of the percussion on and off, and is it too long or short, those kind of things. So that's this bundle of wires. So these I want to separate and bundle together in one loom. So when I wire it up all the way over here to these boards in this section, and now, okay, that bundle goes to percussion, so that all goes over here. And that's how I can properly arrange this. Of course, there's still a huge looming mess here. I kind of hidden away now. Which I'm gonna have to deal with, but at least that will make it a little less painful. Okay, time to loom. Okay, so I'm relooming all these wires, yes? So here's control wires, here's audio, and these power wires are gonna get loomed. So there is this connection here, the brown wire is called SM. So I need to pull out these wires to free them, so I can actually loom them, you know? So, and the brown wire still goes over here. So I'm just following it and following it and following it. It just keeps going, keeps going, keeps going. I'm like, is it gonna pop out the other end? Because I have a hunch that it does. So I look on the service manual for SM, for the control here, connection, and see where it goes on the service manual. So on the service manual, that's this connection here, SM, which goes to the memory switch, which goes here, and then simply here to this switch, which is the tap switch for the chord sound. So here we have the memory switch, and here is the chord switch, the tap switch. So this brown wire goes all the way around through the entire loom just to end up here, which is like, I don't know, 10 centimeters. So I'm not going to bother like removing that entirely. That's just silly. I mean, it makes for a very neat loom. Well, used to be neat anyways, but it's just kind of ridiculous. I mean, If that's gonna happen for more of these connections, then no wonder this thing is so chaotic. So yeah, I'm just gonna snip this wire. I'm just gonna run it from here, kind of neatly through this gap here over to here. Right, so turns out there's two wires that go from this circuit board to this one, and they both go all the way around. Look on the service manual. Here we have the PCB with all the switches with the presets for the solo synth. And so I'm looking, okay, blah 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 blah. Huh, it ends here. It does have some dotted lines, and I can see from the PCB in real life that this clearly needs to go on. So where is the rest? Where is it? So I spent an eternity scrolling through all the pages of this service manual. I don't even know if I can find it again, to be honest. So I end up in the rhythm unit. And there we go. So on this page 51, page 58 actually. Here it is XB, which luckily says C sheet number 21. So go back to sheet number 21, which is the bass synth. Now I need to find XB. It's somewhere in here. Oh, what's this? A tiny little bit of circuit with XB. Okay. So what is that? So I'm going to the diagrams of the PCBs. Oh, what's this? The last little missing piece of that PCB with all the switches. Okay, so that's those looms all done. I have rerouted some of the cables because it was kind of ridiculous. As I mentioned before, like some of these wires would go from you know, that circuit board all the way around to the circuit board next to it, and I mean, come on. So yeah, change things up a little bit. I do of course need to make it tidy, and I need to connect all these new looms that I made to the circuit boards over here. But hey, first little bit done. I'm going to do this side first, which means that all these are gonna get connected to that side. So basically I did the left side now, and I'm gonna do the right side. Okay, it's been about a week, a little more, but I'm ready to pick up the slack again. So I'm preparing to cut this side of the loom. This is going to be the final stage of connecting all the front panel controls. I already connected these bits. This is gonna go to these switches here. Guess what I did for the past 2 hours? Separating this from that and that. It was so entangled because it's all just loomed together. So when they're looming it and moving it around during, you know, construction, all these cables just get horribly entangled with each other. So when you try to separate it, it's a nightmare because some things are bundled together over there, some things are bundled together over there, and when you try to separate them, they're just knotted, you know. So, anyways, E. Okay, here's something interesting. See that this trace is cut right here, and you'll see that this connection here has been cut as well, and instead has been grounded. Now, I was wondering why they did that, if that was like a repair job but no, I'm pretty sure it's factory, because we have K8 here. which is an unpopulated area of the PCB where a switch would be. And that's for the 8-foot percussion, which is not on this organ. Instead, this organ has a switch for the noise attack. So what they did, they used the same PCB for both the version with the 8-foot percussion as well as the version with the noise attack switch. In this case, this trace here connects to the connection that activates the different footages of the percussion. So if this would be connected, this would, when you turn on the switch, this would connect up the 8-foot over here to this connection here, and that would activate it. But of course, this is not an 8-foot percussion, this is a noise attack, so they cut it. Same with this trace over here. If that would be connected, when you turn on the switch, that would activate the 8-foot percussion. Instead, this is grounded because this has become noise attack. Now they just cut it and put a little bodge wire that goes over to ground here. So it's a bit of a botchy way of doing it, but it saves an extra production line for a different PCB and having to design that extra PCB as well. So instead you just have the same PCB, but you just cut and connect different things, and there you go. You can have to use the same PCB for 2 different products. Okay, I've hooked up the percussion switches and everything needed to make the percussion work. So let's test it out, shall we? That is fully working. So now I can move on to the drawbars, because those are probably not working yet. Okay, it turns out a ground wire wasn't connected on the chords board, and that ground connects to the drawbar, so the drawbars didn't have any ground, so obviously they didn't do anything because they're voltage dividers. So awesome. Now I do hear a bit of a weird note on the 8-foot. Might be that there's something got loose or shorting up, but at least it's working. So that takes care of the drawbars. So I need to connect this bodge wire, which connects to NA over here, which is the noise attack. Now it needs to connect here to the mixing preamp for the flutes, but there's no connection here. There's no NA on here anywhere. Then I recalled, oh right, it was connected to this port. I actually checked one of my YouTube videos to reference this. Luckily I also marked it. NA is connected to here, the orange cable is connected to here, but there is a trace going to the connector. There is no pin here. So it's almost as if they forgot to put a pad here for that connection. And it was already in production or whatever, and they were like, or they were getting ready for production, they were like, you know what, let's just take this wire and make it go from here to on this board instead. Because clearly it was designed to be connected and everything else is connected this way. This is how the entire thing is designed. But yeah, no pad and no hole. This is board 781, which is the reverb amplifier. So it has a preamp that drives the reverb tank, and then a post amp as a buffer for the output. So yeah, it has new capacitors, so time to slap it on the Elka. See what happens. Spring reverb testy time. I just wired it up, so that is good. Always sounds kind of creepy. The reverb is a-okay. Okay, onto the vibrato. Okay, that's the LFO and the vibrato Leslie emulation effect all recapped. So time to yeet it into the Elka and connect it.
Day 362. I am finally working on fixing the Leslie emulation in the Elka Concorde 802.
Okay, time to test the vibrato. It's mostly connected. Yeah, okay, that's the vibrato done. Wow, that was, things are going really well. Famous last words, of course. Okay, the two output preamps are in place. So that's 896B and 896C. Now one thing to note is that 896B is the preamp responsible for all the organ related stuff, whereas C is responsible for the output of the rest, so the string synth, the solo synth, and the bass stuff. So yeah, if you have an output issue with the organ, you want to go for B. If you have an output issue with something else, you want to look at C. Okay, quick peek at the service manual. We have 896B, which is the output preamp for all the organ stuff. Then we have the swell pedal control over here. And then finally the output over here. So if I get this working, then I have a whole signal path for the organ done. This stuff I will do when I have the string synth and the solo synth and everything ready, because that's the output section for those things. Yeah, I found something problematic. I was replacing this capacitor. Noticed this is wiggling about. This. And that's because one of the legs has broken of this thing. So luckily it's the base leg, so probably can just solder it to the case and it will be fine. Operation surgically reattach this to this. Again. It just needs to connect well enough that I can. Okay. After enough sanding and grinding, the solder actually stuck to the base of the transistor. So this should work. But yeah, it's a little interesting. Well, right. Now on with the capacitors. Okay, since I don't have the foot pedal wiring connected up yet, and I do want a quick test, I just put a little resistor over P1 and P2, which are the connections for the swell pedal. When you press down on the swell pedal, its resistance lowers, and at the lowest resistance it's about 36K. I put a 47K on here, so the pedal is lifted up just a tiny bit. Of course, at a later point I'm gonna need to test with the pedal to see if it actually does the volume swell thing. And of course the 2 switches on the sides, but that's for later. For now, I wanna have this working. Yeah, something is amiss. Something is loose. Let me just check how it works. But hey, at least we have a signal, so it is working. Yeah, test with foot pedal and the relay for the outputs connected, which will test the chip. I plugged it in and I heard a soft little poop, so that means there's output. Cool, so that's working. Okay, let's recap. Master oscillator is working. Dividers, I made my own dividers, those are working. The keyboard flute switches are all working. The treble keyboard is all working. Fixed the percussions, so the tabs and the filters are all working. The drawbars are working and the filters are working. The percussion VCA is working, and then the percussion and flute output goes to preamp, which is working. It splits off to reverb, which is working. You can turn the vibrato on and off, the vibrato LFO and the, I call it vibrato, but it's Leslie emulation. The modulation is working. Then go to another preamp, which is the output preamp. That's working. The pedal control is working. And then the final output stage is also working, because we have proper audio here. So that concludes this entire top section here. Am I posing correctly? So, sorry, I'm a bit in the mood. Organ working. So this is really good. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. And yeah, next time will be the string synth, which is quite exciting because that's one of the reasons why I really wanted this thing, is the string synth. Because it's the Elka Rhapsody and it's quite a wonderful sound. So anyways, again, I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions or commentary, please comment below. And I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.